My boyfriend asked if I was only dating him. Then my past showed up. I thought I had finally found someone worth building a future with, until one question over dinner shattered my confidence. The question that changed everything. I never thought a single question could rattle me to my core. But that's exactly what happened last Saturday night. It was supposed to be an ordinary date night with my boyfriend, Ethan. We'd been seeing each other for about 4 months, enough time to be comfortable, but still in that sweet spot where you're discovering new things about each other. We'd just finished dinner at this cozy Italian place downtown, the kind where the lighting is warm and the servers know your name after a few visits. Ethan looked especially good that night, dark blue shirt that brought out his eyes, hair perfectly in place, his usual easy smile. Then, right as we were waiting for dessert, he leaned back in his chair, locked eyes with me, and asked, "Are you only dating me?" It wasn't accusatory. His tone was calm, even gentle, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of uncertainty I hadn't seen before. Why it hit me so hard? In most relationships, that question might be a formality. But in ours, it landed like a loaded weapon. Ethan and I never explicitly discussed exclusivity. We just slid into spending more and more time together until it felt like we were. The problem? I hadn't exactly been only dating him. What I said next, and what I left out, would decide the entire future of our relationship. The other guy. I froze, covering in midair. The restaurant noise faded into a dull hum, my mind racing through every possible response. The truth? I'd been on and off seeing another guy before Ethan, and I started getting serious. His name was Matt, tall, charming in that reckless, dangerous way that always spells trouble but still draws you in. Matt and I never had a label. We'd go weeks without talking, then suddenly meet up for drinks and end up spending the weekend together. It was messy, inconsistent, and not the kind of relationship you could build a future on. When Ethan came into my life, things felt different. Steady. Safe. Like I could finally exhale. But I never technically ended things with Matt. I just stopped replying to his messages as often. Why I didn't tell Ethan sooner? Part of me thought it wasn't necessary, that Matt would fade into the background on his own. But another part of me, the part one wasn't proud of, liked keeping that door slightly open. Ethan's question forced me to face something I'd been avoiding. If I didn't close that door now, I might lose the best thing I'd ever had. I swallowed hard, my voice coming out quieter than I expected. I haven't been seeing anyone else since we got serious, but before you, I was casually seeing someone. And I never really had the "it's over" conversation. Ethan's jaw tightened. So does he still think you're seeing him? The truth was even messier than I'd admitted, and Ethan was about to find out. The unwanted comeback. I didn't answer Ethan's question right away, because I already knew the truth. Yes, Matt probably still thought he had a place in my life. And the worst part? He'd made sure I couldn't just pretend he didn't exist anymore. It happened 2 nights earlier. I was home alone, curled up on the couch, when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. New phone. Still me. You free this weekend? I didn't need to ask who it was. Matt had a habit of showing up just when I was starting to forget about him. I ignored the text, but 10 minutes later, he sent another. I miss you. We need to talk. The words "we need to talk" carried too much weight. With Matt, they could mean anything: a casual hangout, a drunken confession, or some kind of emotional grenade he'd drop into my life without warning. Why I didn't tell Ethan? Honestly, I was scared. Not of Ethan, but of how he'd see me if he knew I hadn't fully cut ties with Matt. I wanted Ethan to see me as loyal, dependable, the opposite of the messy situations Matt represented. But Ethan's What I didn't expect was for Matt to make one last move, one that would test whether I could really walk away. The last temptation. That night, after Ethan dropped me off, I sat in my car in the driveway with my phone in my hand. It felt heavier than usual, like it knew the weight of the choice I was about to make. I opened Matt's text thread. His last message glared at me, "We need to talk." My thumb hovered over the block button, but before I could press it, another message came through. "I know you've been seeing someone. But before you decide, I need to see you one last time." It was the kind of message Matt specialized in, a mix of vulnerability and manipulation, perfectly calibrated to make me curious. The flashbacks. I remembered the late nights, the thrill of unpredictability, the way Matt could make the rest of the world disappear, for a while. But I also remembered the emptiness afterward, the unanswered calls, the way I'd feel like a placeholder until something better came along. I typed a single reply. "There's nothing to talk about. Goodbye." Then, with a deep breath, I blocked his number. The release. It wasn't dramatic. No tears, no shouting. Just a quiet click, and the knowledge that I had finally chosen the man who had been choosing me from the beginning. When I told Ethan the next morning, his shoulders relaxed for the first time in days. "Good," he said simply. But in his eyes, I saw something else, relief, yes, but also the faintest shadow of doubt. Trust, once cracked, doesn't fully heal overnight. I thought cutting Matt off was the end of the story. But a week later, I got a message from an unknown account, and my heart dropped when I saw who it was. The message from nowhere. It had been a quiet, uneventful week. Ethan and I fell into an easy rhythm again, morning coffee together, texting throughout the day, dinner on the weekends. I started to believe that maybe the tension had finally lifted. Then, one evening while scrolling through my messages, a notification popped up from a username I didn't recognize. No number, no profile picture, just a handle that looked hastily made. The message read, "So this is how it ends? You think you can just block me and forget?" My stomach dropped. There was no question in my mind, it was Matt. Somehow, even after I'd shut the door, he'd found another way in. The confrontation. I showed Ethan the message. His jaw clenched instantly. "He doesn't get to do this to you. Or to us. Screenshot everything. If he contacts you again, we'll handle it legally." For the first time since this whole mess started, I realized something important. Ethan wasn't just asking me to cut Matt off for his own comfort. He was protecting me. From the chaos. From the instability. From myself. The final goodbye. I blocked the account without replying. No explanation, no closure. Just a permanent end. That night, lying next to Ethan, I felt lighter. Not because the drama was over, it might flare up again, but because I knew where I stood, and who I stood with. Ethan wasn't perfect. Neither was I. But we'd chosen each other, and for now, that was enough. Sometimes the hardest part of moving forward isn't choosing someone else, it's finally choosing yourself enough to leave the past where it belongs.